Hello everyone and welcome to this Genesis Customer Care Check tutorial. Today we have Andrew Bezuglov from Business Application Support Group presenting Workspace Desktop Edition 8.5 installation, configuration and basic troubleshooting. Also we have Lina Zotova from the same support group with us to answer your chat questions during the session. There are a few logistics you should know before we get started. The session will be recorded and posted to Tech Tutorial page of the Customer Care website in a week. You will receive an email with the recording link when it's available. Phone lines will be muted until Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you need clarification about the material during the session, you can type your question into the chat window and Lina will answer those questions, unless it will be better answered during Q&A session at the end. When you exit the webinar, a brief survey will be displayed in your web browser. Thank you for taking a minute to complete the survey. Genesis uses feedback to improve our tech tutorials. And now I will turn session over to Andrew.
Hello everyone, my name is Andrew and today we'll review basic installation, configuration and troubleshooting for DWS 8.5 edition. This UI introduces you to Workspace and privilege and role-driven capabilities as well as features that focus on the needs of the user make Workspace a total agent solution. The Workspace agent interface enables the users to invoke interactions that are related to existing interactions, thus ensuring a consistent experience. Workspace is a modular application that permits expansion and customization. In this TOI, we'll review a deployment process, configuration, and basic troubleshooting of Workspace Desktop Edition. Okay, we'll begin requirements. For memory usage, you see this table represent the memory usage range for interaction workspace. The minimum value is out-of-the-box version using voice-only interaction. Is the out-of-box version using multimedia interaction. Please note that interaction workspace can use more memory if deployed with click once on compatibility mode with 812. This mode runs interaction workspace in 64-bit native mode and can use up to 450 megabytes. If you are using Workspace depend point, an additional 60 megabytes are used. About monitor resolution, the minimum supported resolution is 1022 to 678 bits. As for deployment process, we'll review create application object using Genesis administrator, configure application objects using Genesis administrator, prepare click once deployment, installation of Workspace Desktop Edition, and configure Workspace on agent's PC. As you can see on a screenshot, we'll review in more detailed all these points. Create application objects using Genesis administrator. You should create and configure a Workspace Desktop Edition application object in Genesis administrator to enable you to deploy and provision Workspace. The WDA application template and the configuration metadata are included in the standard application template that comes with Genesis Suite 8. Beginning with Workspace 8.5, 3 templates and associated XML metadata files are distributed with the application. You can choose to deploy different combination of templates, XML metadata files to meet the needs for your call center. The core workspace template with core workspace option, which doesn't contain any SIP endpoint options. Use this option if you aren't planning to use any Genesis SIP endpoint. The second one is the core workspace template with core workspace option and the interaction workspace SIP endpoint 802. Use this option if you're planning to deploy interaction workspace SIP endpoint 802. And please note the SIP endpoint don't support video channel. The core workspace template, this core workspace option, and the workspace SIP endpoint 850 option is the third type of template. And you can use this option if you got workspace SIP endpoint 850, which implements the video channel. So the procedure is the next. In Genesis Administrator, you should go to Provisioning in Environment View, upload one of application template. To do this, you need to go to Templates folder and press Upload template links, as you can see on a screenshot. Then upload one of the application metadata.xml file. To do this, you need to go to Application Template and press Import Metadata Links, as you can see on the screenshot as well. Save the application template and create. Okay, go to next. So then you need to create a new Workspace Desktop Edition application using created template and specify an application name. To do this, you should go to Application and press button New, open list of templates, and choose previously imported template. Set the application name and click Save. As you can see on next, we configure application using Genesis Administrator. Open the Workspace Desktop Edition application that you previously created. You should add the following connection. Test server or SIP server if you are using voice and instant messaging features. You can add a statistics server for statistics feature and presence, universal contact server for contact management, and interaction server for e-services. You can also grant execution rights to the agents that will log on to the application, and grant read rights to the agent that will log on to this application for the object listed in connections list. Please note to use HA functionality, grant read rights to backup applications of the objects that are listed connection list in configuration server application. Now we review installation steps. Workspace can be deployed into two ways, depending on your needs: click once or a non-click once deployment. The main difference between click once and non-click once installation is the following. A click once the deployment of Workspace automatically handles software updates as you make them available in your environment. If you do not have the ability to push application updates and configurations to your agent, you might want to take advantage of a managed services deployment approach in your environment by using click once. Non-click once is a standard deployment. You must install the Workspace application on each workstation. In this scenario, you must push software updates to each workstation in your environment. Let's review this more closer. For non-click once installation, basically you need to follow 3 steps. Install the Workspace Desktop Edition on the client desktop, start the application, and test the client application. Before installation, please check that you have .NET Framework 4.5 installed on agent machine. On your desktop, open the Workspace disk or the Workspace type example. You should click next to begin the installation procedure and follow installation instructions. We will review only some specific points of this procedure. During the installation, you should choose installation folder and choose destination location panel. As you can see on this screenshot, if you're installing from the international DVD, the language pack selection panel is displayed where you can choose a language needed for the installation. After click next, the installation begins, and it continues, and then at the end you should press finish to the end of this installation. You can set up SIP endpoint after installation of Workspace if you're using SIP server. The requisites for SIP endpoint installation is .NET Framework 4.5, and also the following Microsoft redistributive package are required to be installed on the Workspace, where Workspace SIP endpoint will execute. They are installed by the installation package if they are not already present on the target workstation. It's Microsoft Visual C++ 2.05 Service Pack 1 for version 8.5.104 and higher is Visual C++ redistributive for Visual Studio 2.13 for 8.5103 and lower is Visual C++ redistributive for Visual Studio 2.12. The installation is an on your desktop. Open the Workspace Desktop Edition SIP endpoint disk or the Workspace Desktop Edition SIP endpoint IP and double-click the setup exe. The Genesis installation wizard launches and the welcome panel is displayed. Please follow the installation procedures as it was in Workspace installation before.
Andrew, I'm sorry. I think we have issues with your audio, and apologies to everyone. I think we need to drop Andrew's call, and he will dial back, and we will see if it's going to be better with the sound.
Okay, I'll do it.
Or you might try mic and speaker. Maybe it will be better.
Unfortunately, I don't have here my microphone and speaker. I have only a headset.
Okay, let's do then redialing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll do it. Hello, everyone. Is it better? Hello?
Yep, sounds better.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, let's proceed with presentation.
Okay, thank you. So, installation of SIP endpoint. We will review the main step of the installation. After you click Next on Welcome panel, the Select Installation panel is displayed as it showed on this slide. The Select Installation Application panel enables you to select the Workspace application instance to which you want to add Workspace Desktop Edition SIP endpoint as a plugin. The Genesis installation wizard searches the target computer for an installed version of Workspace, and you should select the version of a Workspace in the location in which you want Workspace Desktop Edition SIP endpoint to be installed. The application properties panel displays the name, version, and location of selected Workspace application. After you have selected the version of Workspace that you want to use with Workspace Desktop Edition SIP endpoint, you should click Next. And on Ready to Install panel, click Install to install Workspace on Workspace. After this, you should click Finish, and you're ready to go with SIP endpoint. A folder that is named Workspace Desktop Edition is in the Workspace folder, and this Desktop Edition SIP endpoint application and associated files. After the Workspace Desktop Edition SIP endpoint application is installed on the agent, workstation agents must log in Workspace on a place that is associated with a SIPDN to start the Workspace Desktop Edition SIP endpoint. The Workspace Desktop Edition SIP endpoint process is started automatically when Workspace application is being initialized. If you are using Kerberos single sign-on, as you can see on the next slide, you should edit the login.kerberos.service principal name option in the interaction workspace.exe.config property file to add the following line. As you can see these lines on a slide. And if you want to include any custom packages at the customization installation. After installing, you should start the application and log in of the agent. To launch the Workspace client application on the client desktop, select it from the Start menu or navigate to the installation folder that you specified and double-click the interaction workspace.exe file. The Workspace login window is displayed on the client desktop. The More button on the window. You should click More button on the window, sorry. Enter the following information into the agent login panel and the connection parameters panel. Username is a valid username that is configured in the configuration layer. Password is the valid password for the specified username. Application name is the name that is specified for the Workspace application object to which you want to connect. Host name is the name of the host with configuration server installed. port is a port on which configuration server is listening. Please note that you can specify configuration server proxy host and port except configuration server. So we'll review how to configure a ClickOnce installation first. I would say a few words about ClickOnce. ClickOnce enables a safe and secure workflow that enables agents to be authenticated and then granted access only to specific privileges. Initially, agents are given a URL through email, a corporate portal, or a desktop shortcut that links to the ClickOnce server. Once they're native to the server, the Workspace application is downloaded to the workstation. The application automatically starts and agents are prompted to authenticate through the login window. When upgrades are made available, they are automatically delivered to agents upon login. The basic steps for ClickOnce deployment are follows. Install Workspace deployment package on the Windows operating system. Deploy the ClickOnce package on your web server using deployment management wizard or using console commands and predefined configuration file. Web server preparation and test the client application at the end. So let's review installing Workspace package on the Windows operating system for ClickOnce installation. Before perform this procedure, you should check that you have administrator privileges on web server and have installed .NET 4.5 version. On your desktop, you should open the Workspace Desktop Edition CD or DVD or the Workspace Desktop Edition IP and double-click the setup.exe file. After this, the welcome panel is displayed and you should follow installation procedure for install. We'll review only some specific steps on the installation. You will see general license agreement panel, and on this panel you should agree with it and then click next, and you should choose prepare a ClickOnce package on the next step. And after this, you can choose a destination folder panel, and then you can proceed with installation on your web server. When installation is complete, the installation complete panel is displayed. The below figure shows the files that are installed by the prepare a ClickOnce package option, as you can see on the screenshot. The Interaction Workspace folder contains the Interaction Workspace application files. The Workspace Deployment Manager is a folder which contains the application files required for deployment, including the Deployment Manager application. Interaction Workspace Desktop.exe file. So, content publication, which contains the publish.htm and setup.exe file. You can also include a STP endpoint to ClickOnce deployment. The installation is pretty the same as for non-ClickOnce deployment, except requisites. Please know that .NET Framework 4.5 installed from web server, and we'll talk about it later. When you are deploying Workspace and Workspace SIP endpoint by using click once, you must put the following packages on those workstation prior to enable the click once deployment. You can see these requirements on the slide. They are pretty the same as was for non-click once installation. The main difference is these packages should be on target PCs before installation with a click once. Regarding installation plugin, Workspace enables to install optional plugins for Workspace. Plugins such as e-services, social media interaction handling are available as separate installation packages that you install from a separate CD/DVD. If you deploy a plugin as a part of a click once deployment, the behavior of the click once download depends on privileges that are assigned to the agent who is logging in. If the agent is granted the privileges to execute a plugin, the plugin is downloaded as part of the deployment. The general procedure of installing plugins is the same as installation Workspace SIP endpoint. The documentation for your plugin provides specific information about how to install and deploy your plugin. Let's review how to deploy the click once package on your web server. Use the Workspace Deployment Manager wizard or console. You can install the package on the web server. Before you begin, you should prepare the following: is the deployment URL, a deployment version, and deployment certificate. If you do not have if you do have a deployment certificate, select the sign with a provided certificate option and then browse to select the certificate. You must also input the password in the decided text box. If you do not have a deployment certificate, do not select the sign with the provided certificate option. Without a signed package, a security warning is displayed whenever the client downloads the package. There are two procedures of deploying click once application: with wizard and with console. With wizard deploys the Workspace package on your web server with deployment manager, and with console is deployment procedure with a predefined configuration file. Let's see closer of these two procedures. A procedure of installation using deployment manager. You can launch the Interaction Workspace Deployment Manager.exe application by double-clicking the file from Interaction Workspace Deployment Manager folder. You can find this file in installation folder with Workspace. The Deployment Manager installs the click once files on your web server. You can see a screenshot where you can find this file. After you click Next, the deployment folder panel is displayed. Specify the location on your server in which you want the click once files to be deployed. deployed. Sorry. For Linux or Solaris installation, you should set a local folder on PC and then copy files from this folder to your web server. After you click Next, the package information panel will show. This panel is filled in automatically. You can modify this parameter only if necessary. At the bottom, you can also choose customization content you would like to add. It can be also a language package you would like to add to this installation. If you selected Add Custom Files, you can see this screen as you see on screenshot. The Custom Files panel will be displayed. This window enables you to add custom content to the out-of-the-box interaction workspace. Relative path column is the pane where the file will be copied relative to the core workspace installation directory. Data file not used, this should be left unchecked. Optional must be checked if the file is part of an optional module that is loaded according to user privileges. A module is considered as optional if the value of the startup loader attribute is set to false and in the module config file, and the same module is associated to a task in the same file. Group name for mandatory files that have optional unchecked always specify core. After you click Next, the client configuration pane is displayed. In this pane, you should provide the following information: the address and port of your local Genesis configuration server, the name of the interaction workspace client applications that you created in the configuration layer by using Genesis administrator. Optionally, you can specify the service principal name, SPN for using Kerberos single sign-on. You can enable client-side port definition to define the client-side port functionality, and you should specify the port number the port number that the client will use to make a TCP/IP connection to configuration server. If the value is empty, this parameter is not used. And you can specify IP address is the IP address or the host name that the client will use to make TCP/IP connection to configuration server. If the value is empty, this parameter is not used. The IP address can be useful to use if you have a few IP addresses assigned to the agent's PC. After you click Next, a signing pane is displayed. As I said before, you should specify a certificate here. If you have it, if you don't have, you should check do not sign. If you click sign with a provided certificate, you can click the browse button to navigate to the certificate and enter the password for the certificate in the password field. After you click Next, the Ready to Build pane is displayed. And you can see here a summary of the files that will be deployed on your web server and a confirmation of the deployment URL. after you press next button, the deployment process will be finished. And when deployment is complete, you can see a published HTML web page in your browser. And this page confirms that the Workspace package is published and provides you with the version number. If you have not installed the prerequisites on the target host, this page contains a link to the prerequisite installers. Okay, let's review a deployment manager console installation type. The benefit of this type of installation is that a console mode enables administrator and solution designers to create a script-based click-once deployment to automate a deployment. A procedure is the next. Open the Workspace Deployment Manager folder. This folder contains the application files required for deployment. Edit the silent.xml file to include the deployment parameters and launch the interaction Workspace Deployment Manager.exe file by using a command line like the following: start/wait interaction Workspace Deployment Manager.exe -s and silent.xml. The following command line arguments are supported: -s silent file name is mandatory for console execution. This attribute specifies that the deployment manager will execute in a console mode and specifies the configuration file used for execution. -f log files is the optional parameter, and this attribute specifies the path and the name of the log file printed during the deployment manager execution. Please note that use the command start/wait if you want the script to wait for end of process execution. Here you can see an example of silent.xml file. As you can see, all parameters we specified with wizard you can specify in this one file. The next is web server preparation. For Apache server, by default, the Apache web server doesn't permit the download of documents of specific. Apache must be configured to enable the click-once package. In the conf/mime.types file in the Apache install folder, add the following lines. You can see it on a slide, and after this you should save the file. For IIS server, you should from the administrative tool start IIS services manager, click right and the tree leaf that represents your server. Select properties from the contextual menu. In the properties dialog box, click MIME types. Click new to add each of the following configuration pairs. You can see these pairs on a slide, and after this you should click OK and then click OK again to validate the new MIME types list. can test the client application. To ensure that the Workspace application was correctly deployed on your web server, you can do the next steps. On a client workstation or open a browser. In the address field, enter the URL of the Workspace web application. The Workspace click once publish window open, as it showed on a screenshot. And this window lists all of the prerequisites that should be installed before you launch Workspace for the first time. Now we'll review a post-install configuration of Workspace on Agent PC. If you don't configure the port a click once installation, and you can configure client-side port in Workspace folder. This client-side port defining the access port for each application to which Workspace Connect ensure the security of the system. This feature is configured partially on Framework Configuration Server and partially on the Workspace Desktop Edition application in Genesis Administrator. Open the interaction workspace.exe config file, and in the app section of this file, you should modify the value of the transport port and transport address key as follows. For the transport address key, specify the IP address of the host name that the client will use to make a TCP/IP connection to configuration server. If this value is empty, this parameter is not used. For the transport port key, you should specify the port number that the client will use to make a TCP/IP connection to configuration server. If the value is empty, this parameter is not used. You can see this parameter on a slide. After set client-side ports for Workspace, you can configure a client-side port for each connection. And this administrator opens the Workspace Desktop Edition application, select application in the connection area, then click Edit, and in the Connection Info dialog box, click the Advanced tab. In the Transport Parameter field, specify the following parameters: port equal and port number, then semicolon, address equal IP address. You can use one of these parameters or two of them, and if you use two of them, semicolon separation should be present. Here, the port number is the port number that the client will use for its TCP IP connection to the server, and IP address is the IP address or host name that the client will use for its TCP IP connection to the server. You can see an example on the slide. You can also predefine a chain for configuration server. You should configure it in interaction workspace.exe.config file. This file is in the Workspace Desktop Edition installation directory. To support primary backup high availability configuration for config server, you can provide information about the connection to configuration server, both primary and backup, from the interaction workspace.exe.config configuration file. Settings is the next. My configuration environment is the name of configuration environment that is displayed in the login window. Application name is the name of the Workspace Desktop application in management framework. Primary configuration server host and backup configuration server host is primary and backup configuration servers. The order indicates the preference for the connection. Timeout is specified the delays in seconds that is applied after connection to primary and backup have been checked and failed. This parameter applies only after initial successful connection has been lost. You can also configure a Workspace Desktop Edition for using with SIP server business continuity. To manage server and switch connection to enable Workspace to connect to an alternative SIP server in the disaster at the preferred agent login site. Workspace enables you to use SIP server business continuity disaster recovery to ensure that your agent can keep working in the event that one of the sites experience a disaster for other loss of service. On the SIP server object at the preferred site, you should configure the disaster recovery.site option in the Workspace section with a symbolic link such as site X for the server. On the SIP server object in the peer site, configure the disaster recovery site options in the interaction workspace section with a symbolic name such as site E, site Y for the server. For each agent, agent group, or tenant, configure the disaster recovery preferred site and disaster recovery peer site options in the interaction workspace section by specifying the symbolic site name of the SIP server that you specified with the disaster recovery site option. So this is the end of installation, and we'll continue for configuration of Workspace Desktop Edition. Workspace configuration options can be divided into several sections. Interaction workspace, interaction queue presence, routing point presence, KPI name, object statistic name, and not ready section in interaction workspace. All the options in the interaction workspace section can be defined hierarchically at the following levels: application, tenant, agent group, and user or agent. As you move down the hierarchy, the option settings override the previous level. That means that the value that you set for a user overrides what has been configured for the same option at a higher level, such as the values specified for the agent group of which the agent is a member. The values specified for many options can also be overridden by routing strategies that reference transaction objects. Section interaction queue presence. It's the interaction queue presence option enables the agent to view interaction queue statistics information in team communicator. Section queue presence is the queue presence option enable agents to view queue statistics information in team communicator. Section routing point presence is the routing point presence option enable agents to view routing point statistics information in team communicator. The next section is KPI name or key performance indicators can be seen from My Statistics view list of Workspace Desktop. You should use this administrator to define a new section at the level at which you want the KPI to be displayed. Use the KPI name as the name of section. Define the values that are to be displayed for the KPI as the options and values of the section. For example, for the total talk status time KPI, define a section that is named talk time and then define a set of options and specify values for those options. In order to have contact center statistics fully enabled and displaying in Interaction Workspace, you first need to be sure that you have imported the statistics templates to that server and Interaction Workspace. There should be 3 files which should be modified and then merged with Workspace and statistical servers. You can see these 3 files, 3 file names on the screenshot. Details how to do it you can find in our knowledge base. Session object statistic name. You can configure a view statistic that summarizes the stage of various conditions that are monitored by your call center, such as percentages of abandoned calls, the average call waiting time, and the number of interactions that are in a queue. Each object statistic that you want to define and use must have its own section defined in the Workspace application object in the configuration database. Use the Genesis administrator to define a new section at the level at which you want the object statistic to be displayed. Use the object statistic name as the name of the section. Define the value that are to be displayed for the object statistics as the option and values of the section. Not ready reason codes. Workspace provides a reason with which agent can specify details about their not ready status. These are configured by creating as many action code objects of type not ready. Each not ready reason can be customized by creating a section named in Interaction Workspace in the annex of action code objects that are used to define not ready reason codes, and then defining and configuring options in that section to customize the way that not ready reasons are sent to a T server. Role privileges. In the privilege-based mode that is implemented by Workspace, an agent is assigned privileges based on the role of the agent. Privileges are enabled or disabled depending on the role that is assigned to the agent. Privileges are assigned as configuration options in the role privileges tab of the role object in Genesis Administrator. Role-based access control restricts privileges that are assigned to an agent. On the screenshot, you can see an example from Interaction Workspace options for security.disable -airbag options, which should be set to false if you are using, if you want to airbag was be enabled. If to create a new roles, you should do the next steps. In the Genesis Administrator provisioning view, select account in the navigation column. Select the roles view. In the roles view, click Next. In the configuration tab, specify the following general parameter: a name of the role, a description of the role, whether or not the role is enabled. In the configuration tab, specify a list of user or access group in the members view. In the role privilege tab, click Workspace Privileges. Initially, all privileges are unassigned. To assign a privileges, click the drop-down list in the value column that is associated with the privileges and select Allowed. Refer to role privileges in the Workspace Deployment Guide for a list of all privileges. To save the new role, click Save and Close, and the new role is now applied to the specific agent and agent groups. For information on privileges conflict, refer to conflict resolution for configuration options in our deployment guide. Okay, so now we'll review a few basic problems and troubleshooting of these problems. And before begin troubleshooting, you should increase logging level to full debug. To do this, you can set the following options in Interaction Workspace section. Log.psdk to all is write all PSDK messages into files specified in option log.o. Log.sdk equal all is writes all SDK messages into files specified in options log.o. Log.verbose equal all is write all workspace messages into files specified in options log.o. And log.all options, you should specify a path and file name for output logs. For example, c/glog/interaction workspace. If you need the file name in the format agent name.username, you can set the value of the option log.all as a pattern. You can see a pattern on this slide. If sip endpoint is used, then configure also the following sip endpoint logging option. Sip endpoint.log.verbose equal debug, sip endpoint.system.diagnostic.log level equals 6. There are other options for sip endpoint logging level which you can include. You can find the full list of the options in our deployment guide. So the next possible problem is after login to SIP server, agent see an error DN out of service after it receive a first call or right after a login. DN service state is controlled by SIP server. The most common reason for the voice channel suddenly being placed into out of service state is that SIP server didn't receive a reply from the endpoint. Consequently, the most common reason of absence of reply is a poor network connectivity, when either messages from SIP server are lost and are not received by the endpoint, or responses from the endpoint are lost and therefore not received by the SIP server. Usually, this can be identified by reviewing a matching set of SIP server and SIP endpoint logs and comparing the messages on each end. Another common reason of the end being placed into out of service is expired endpoint registration. When SIP endpoint starts, it sends SIP register messages with its IP and port to SIP server, so it would know the address contact to send future messages to, like invite when a call is made to the DN. Register contain an expiration timeout. Configurable, the default is 1,800 seconds. If for some reason the endpoint doesn't update the registration before the timeout expires, the server will invalidate the contact and put the DN into out of service because there is no valid address it can send the messages to. The next is about the privileges. For example, you restricted privileges voice can release call in roles, but the agent can see button release call in WD. It may happen if you have two roles with different security allowance for these roles assigned to the same agent or agent group. In this situation, allow privileges overrides other. For example, you have role 1 with restricted privileges voice can release call, and roles 2 with allowed privileges voice can release call. You have also agents in agent group assigned to role 1 and role 2. In this situation, agents in agent group will have privileges to release call. Nevertheless, it's restricted in roles 1. Other resources which you can refer is Genesis University offers troubleshooting workshops on key Genesis products and solutions, including customer interaction management, troubleshooting workshop, Genesis server troubleshooting workshops, Genesis voice platform troubleshooting workshops. For more details on this and other courses offered by Genesis University, you can follow the following link. Our knowledge base includes several types of information. Product advisories, answers to specific technical questions, product manuals and help files, release notes and release advisors, tech tutorials, recording and slides, troubleshooting utilities, white papers. Knowledge source functionality allows you to quickly find info on a specific topic. Over 20,000 reference document. You can find this information on the following link. Upcoming tech tutorials is tech tutorials number 97. These tutorials will be presented by customer care experts in the telephony product support group. Topics is orchestration, server log analysis, tips and hints. Tutorial date October 5th, 2016. And tech tutorial number 99. These tutorials will be presented by reporting and analytics group. Topic, date and time to be delivered. Tutorial date November 2016, exact date to be delivered. Please note that starting with April, tutorial customers and partners will get a chance to give input for each upcoming tutorials by taking a brief survey before the tutorial topic is announced. To register for upcoming tech tutorials and provide input for future tech tutorials topics, visit the customer care website by the following link. Please note that it requires a login.
Thank you, Andrew. Just a reminder, when you exit the webinar, a brief survey will be displayed in your web browser. Thank you for taking a minute to complete the survey. Genesis uses feedback to improve our tutorials. Now let's start Q&A session. Please click the hand icon on the meeting screen and I will unmute your phone line, or you can type a question in the question chat window. We have a question on the line of Shakhsi Iqbal. Let's go. You can ask your question.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I had a question concerning for interaction workspace on agent group level. We can create a section in the Annex tab called as interaction workspace, and there we can specify some options which will be taken into consideration for the agents who are in that agent group. And similarly, we can do the same on an agent object level, which will have the top priority. But on an agent group level, if a certain agent is part of, for example, 3, 4 interaction workspace section defined in, we know which interaction workspace section would the application pick up the options into consideration.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can see it in interaction workspace startup log files. Which log, which option was specified for this particular agent session. So in a startup, it reads all options, and as I said, in log files, you can just search by the option name, and then you can what this option has value.
Yeah, but I was more looking into apart from the log files, is there a logic behind which one will it pick up? Is it alphabetical, or if it's any rule of thumb?
It's hard to tell you right now, but okay, it's as I said, if you specify it on agent level, it overrides an option on agent groups level. So if you specify, so if you agent a member of different agent groups, it doesn't matter. The options from agent groups won't be taken into account because the options on agent level will override them.
Yes, but on agent group level only. If the agent is a member of, for example, 2 different agent groups, and both of them has the interaction workspace section defined in the Annex tab, then apart from the log files, is there a rule of thumb or is there logic which we know which one will it pick up from which agent group, or is it just random?
It will pick up only from agent level. So if you have different options set on agent level and on agent group, then I'm not sure how it will work. But if you set the same option on agent level and on agent level, definitely option set on agent level will override it. But if you set different level, I'm not ready to answer how it will be. And in this, if you want to get an answer on this question, I would advise you to open a case with our technical support group.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. We have a question on the line of Lakshmana Kumar. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. In email interaction, if we need to add any the images in the signature part, if it is possible, means please explain me where we need to put the images path or image web URL we need to use.
Sorry, I didn't catch what you asked about. Can you please?
Okay. Email interaction. If we are using image in the signature part, you got it or not?
So you mean you want to sign an email interaction?
Yes. In signature part, I need to use one image. That is possible in Genesis or not?
I'm not ready to answer you on this question, unfortunately, because it may take time to check with documentation or something like this. So I would advise you to open a ticket with our
Thank
support
you.
for this question.
Thank you.
No problem.
No more questions in chat window. As a reminder, please click on the head icon on the meeting screen, and I will unmute your phone lines. Anything on in a question window that need to be answered?
Yes, there was a question. Hold on, who was that? What role permissions? What permissions are required to create roles? I'm guessing it should be administrator, but Andrew, if you know some other level of permission, maybe.
Create roles.
Comment. Yep.
I think also it should be administrator rights. Yes, I think you're right.
There is a question on the line of Lance Moore. Go ahead.
I was an administrator and I could not create roles, so I'm fairly sure that that is not correct. Wouldn't it have to be super admin?
Could you be a part of another group that has less permissions and it takes precedence over your administrator permissions?
We have product-specific permissions. We have an entry in our person profile of Genesis administrator, and that was sent to administrator. And that was the only permission level that was applied. So I was told I needed to get upgraded to super administrator while we were on this class when I was talking with a coworker. But thanks.
Any other questions that require Andrew's attention?
I believe there's some others on the questions chat. One of them.
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Karen.
Well, there was a question about e-services troubleshooting techniques, but if there is some the customer has some questions, I suggest to open case with tech support for each question separately so we can answer it.
There's a question about whether Workspace Desktop Edition can do an automatic done after an interaction chat is finished.
I know for voice you can do it, but for chat we need to look into this. I think you should manually click on done. However, we need to check if there is an option, one of the options in the workspace that allows you to have automatic markdown for chat. But I doubt you can do it.
There is a question on the line of Lakshmana Kumar. Go ahead.
In GAD, we have GAD administrator. We can see how many agents logged in, what are the status agents are there. In same configuration is there in Workspace Desktop Edition, or it's not there? Hello?
Hello. Yes. So you mean unable to see how many agents are logged in Workspace Desktop Edition?
Exactly.
I would check if you're able to see this in Pulse first. So probably some problems with on the reporting side. If there is no problems on reporting side, but the problems only with Workspace Desktop Edition, I would advise you to open a ticket with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There is a question on the line of Bhavesh. One second.
Yeah, this is Bhavesh here. So my question is, as you mentioned, we can view in the SysPulse. But suppose if the agents are divided based on geographical locations, and like say some are situated in some one country A, country B, like that, and we want to view a holistic picture view of all the countries in single SysPulse view. So is it possible for all the agents so that I can view all country agents in a single view in SysPulse?
I'm not sure. I'm not ready to answer you on this question because it's out of our TOI, and because of this, I would recommend you to open a ticket with our technical support, and we can help you much more than I am.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anything else on in a question window that we need to answer?
I don't think so. I will add one more answer here. question. We can roll back with click once. How? Is it, Soren? Is it the question, how can we make a rollback with click once? Or if it's possible? Soren Christiansen? Yes. Okay, so Andrew, the question is it possible to have a rollback with click once? I think you can do it because each upgrade creates a new directory in the installation folder, and I think you can just start your application from the previously created folder with click once installation.
Should be tested in our environment. So I'm not pretty sure how it can be, but I would propose to customer probably open a new ticket with us.
Yeah, so we can confirm, we can test and confirm.
Yes.
Okay, as I can see, no more questions, right? I do not see any on the phone. And we will answer all questions in the question window, right? Or do we have some other questions coming?
Well, I have answered one of the questions privately, whether you can launch a WDE from a batch file that will specify agent login parameters that agent doesn't have to enter manually. So I just provided a link for, like, it is possible to do, and it is described in the deployment guide, I guess. So you can pass certain workspace login information through the command line. So it is possible.
Did you, Lena? Did you answer the last questions from Sarin? Do we need to delete the?
I didn't see it. Okay. Oh, that's for click once. Not sure, Soren. You should open the case. We will verify how the click once rollback works.
Thank you, Lena. So at this time we have no more questions. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing this information. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We look forward to seeing you on our next Genesis Customer Care Tech tutorials.
Thank you, everyone.